on stage, please. Both Supriya and ladies and gentlemen, in order to appreciate their effort, can we have a bigger round of applause for them, please? Well done.
Why not for 3 hours? Just so that.
Like, why? I said, both of you, please take your seats.
That's funny. So sweet.
This is going to be a 15-minute session, and the time starts from now.
Yeah, hi, very good afternoon, each one of you. We are going to make this Fireside chat very short and crisp. I'm joined by Mr. Ramesh, Narayanaswamy, Chief Technology Officer at Aditya Birla Capital. Yes, somebody who has spent a lot of time as a technology leader, and for this particular Fireside chat, we'll be focusing on from I to V data, the CTO's label for AI that pays for the set. So possibly we'll be more focusing on the business side of AI as to what kind of value it is bringing. So Mr. Ramesh, I can begin by asking you for the first that session. You are someone who has spent time in different companies and organizations, even technology growth. When you first joined ABCL, what was the value gap that you were trying to solve from a digital engineering perspective? And then I'll come to the AI part.
Sure, Dr. I think, I've joined ABC twice. I joined, I left, then I rejoined. I think the key thing is how to do things faster. I think that is really the gaps. I think in the previous Fireside chats, it was very clearly shown, right? Because technology cannot take forever to do these, right? If you do it quickly, then kicking off revenues happens on the very next day the project gets implemented. So I'm very proud that in the last year, we've not missed any large projects yet, and you have spent a bit more. But the key thing was to address the speed at which technology does with good quality, reasonable amount of precision, complying to law, so that the business can really do it very fast.
Correct. So absolutely, what you were suggesting that we should be on time, especially when it comes to the deployment or possibly rolling out project call to case. Now we are in the age of AI, and would have noticed that companies of all sizes, data startup or maybe a large corporate, they all are trying to utilize AI some way or other. We have not seen an enterprise-based large deployment of a gap. On a bigger scale. What is your assessment, especially from an AI perspective, as to what stage we are? In case if you have done some experiment with ABC, that you share.
Yeah. So I think everyone in this room would be doing some kind of anyone not doing an AI project?
Everyone does.
So that's the reality. And it's a topic 2 years old, and I think all of us are experts in it. I don't think we need it. And I think that is the biggest challenge we have. Because we know so much about it, it is becoming very difficult to come to some kind of a conclusion to do. But what we have done reasonably well is, first we decide whether we need AI to solve this problem or not. So a lot of projects I kill because it does not require AI at all. Okay, I mean, to check a balance of the road, why do you need an AI? To change your address, why do you need an AI? Right? To redeem your portfolio, why do you need it? So that's number one. Right? Where we see a lot of traction is how an enterprise itself gets transformed. Okay, I can give us an example of how we are using AI audits. Because audit is repetitive, it is time consuming. You don't do it well, the regulator comes after you. So today, with respect to technology, we took the platform ourselves just to learn, how an AI system works. Not necessarily we will take it to the next level, but really we've gone and implemented. So today, I've got the ability to do technology audits in 3 days, which you normally used to take 60 days. Right? And that happens every quarter. Audit is very happy about it. The audit is happy member I'm case. The second thing is where we use quite a bit in our housing business, in the underwriting process, in the real sales process. See, one of the things we found in the sales process, the customer always asks that sales agent a question about a competitor product. But we don't really train our own sales agent in competitor's product. We train them in our own products. Now, if you suddenly ask a question about your competitive products, really we have done a very simple generative. It goes to that particular product, it scraps that information, gives him a summary so that he's able to enter the comparison pretty much in real time, and he's able to answer the customer effectively. So suddenly the sales productivity goes up significantly. Okay. And of course, I think the key point which I really like from the previous Fireside chat, what we see is originally we all know that most of the organizations are inflated in terms of number of people. So today we spend a lot of time to see what is the new structure in which they will operate. So the mistake a lot of people are doing is they continue the same old structure, and show everything as an efficiency gain. But we are seeing that how do we really go on to them? So we have started looking at roles, whether it is required, how do we repurpose, how do we retransform, and so on and so forth. So these are the things which I think they're recently handled.
From a technology perspective, especially organization like yours, which is it's like an old time, they started way back to you have invested possibly, all kinds of IT infrastructure, a lot of opportunities there in your IT environment. So there are some of the old infrastructure which might be built on not very Microsoft discipline, which you, for example. So when you are actually building an AI product, how difficult it is to have the kind of visibility as the CTO would like to have across all IT infrastructure, given the fact that some of them might not be able to modernize.
I think the life insurance is the most difficult to modernize. But what we have really done again in the last 3-4 years is we have kind of we have very little legacy in our retire. We spend a lot of money, it does cost you a bit. And what we also did is we have a single solution for our data. So two things which we tackle is no legacy, have a good understanding of data. Then putting these together, the platform was kind of reasonable to do any kind of AI projects. Okay. And a lot of AI projects, what you will realize is actually an integration problem. We are not going to develop LLMs, okay, for sure. They're not going to fine tune. So then what really boils down to how do you integrate it better? So I think one is you take the participant, but if you have a lot of legacy and the data is all over the place, I think it will be difficult.
Since you mentioned the data all over the place, as a CEO, is it fairly positive to have the chat GPT like experience for that enterprise like chat GPT, given the fact that you might be having your service now handling your tickets, Jira might be handling something, some of your workload may be handled by someone handling the proprietary solutions and then sorting each other. So can we honestly create a chat GPT consumer size and the experience working on the enterprise framework? Is it possible?
I think it's possible, right? So I think once you are reasonably accurate in what you're delivering, right, from a service point of view, so right, if you're actually best accurate, then you don't need to do service because everything works. So that's the reason we spend a lot of time to ensure if some kind of a query which has come as an issue, how do we go and fix it at the root cause and just not play around the channel layer itself, right? So that really helps. But you'll have to simplify, right? You'll have to get rid of the systems. The topic we talked about data, one of the things which we do very, very clearly on AI is if I don't remove any technology, I don't put any AI. That's the first condition I have. Something has to go out because if you can't keep adding layer over layer over layer, so it's going to be costly. It is not sustainable. It's very confusing. So I think people like me actually kill a lot of projects with author edits. So we are not people don't like me that much, but that's the reality. You need to make money out of it. You can't keep adding layers and layers of AI without it. So the clear thing is that remove systems, remove processes, and removing people is a vast thing in this mind. When repurpose the whole thing as the whole is.
And that's absolutely true, given the fact that we do see, the expectation from CIO or CTO is not only about creating products, just working on the technology part of it, but there has to be some positive impact on the revenue side. That's what the topic also is talking about. So how are asking your extreme
things? Look, again, I will go back to the previous section. We have been talking this for too long. CTOs don't have a seat at the board. I think you have to get over the narrative, right? If at the end of the day, if you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it. If you want to do it, you want to do it. I'm very happy to go with the CEO that I don't do this stuff. They go to my boss and say, so you have to be very realistic about what you're doing it, right? So I think it is about once you have 15, 20 years of experience, whether you have really the best. At the most, what they can do, they say, oh, I can't have the jobs. It's not too difficult, right? If you know what it is. But that's the reality, because if you don't have that ability to say that these things can't be done, these things will be done in this way, and then have a view of really, how to regulate it and how are you going to avoid cost. Because otherwise, forever we will be saying technology is the cost concern, transformation is having for a while. To the extent it has got a bit boring for me. So at least I've become very impatient on this topic, and then push the agenda, it works that way.
Now, coming to other thing which is very important, because we are talking about the AI. AI is nothing much about the data, how clean your data is, and that will be dependent on how good your AI product or LLM would be. From a data security perspective, we do see, most of the regions, whether GDPR or California Act or the Kennedy Act, as a lot of government organizations are coming up to some level of, hygiene in place in terms of as to how you guys consumer data, CRA data. For a CTO, I know this is the role of maybe CISO and other function which directly looks into it. But from a CTO perspective, when you are doing the technology engineering, how impactful that conversation is, especially from a security perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it is critical, right? I mean, see, everyone has to play this part, and then these things have to be done in a very collaborative fashion, right? But I think the challenge I see in India is that people are okay is to give data, right? I mean, I had a very funny discussion with UBS where they wanted me to set my account. Then the only thing that I was saying, look, every customer sends it. Why are you not sending it? Right? Actually, I don't think we take our data seriously. I think as citizens, once we start taking data seriously, I think the whole space will grow. But from an organizational point of view, it is very simple, right? First is the regulatory level. Regulators say don't do all these things, do all these things. You all do it because you have to comply with CP5. Second thing is, previously the original thought process was don't collect so much data, collect data what you want. But I don't think, I think we have moved out of that era, right? Because we need to collect as much data as possible, put through a good amount of cataloging, have governance, and then move on. I think we need to really ensure that people who are handling it understands why you need it, what you need it, right? So I think it is more about education, which will ensure that we treat data very well. And I think there are more than enough solutions available today to get things right? Some of them could be expensive, but there are solutions available. Because you implement it, I don't think you can go wrong. But how you use it is a challenge, right? Whether it's in case of sales, and there are I will give a tip to, I did a conference last week. I don't know, right? Someone has given them, everyone started calling me after 7:30 p.m. I said, yeah, since I went to that conference, I've got an obligation to talk to, but not after 7:30. Then they said, no, we were specifically asked to call after 7:30. And I said, who came up with this great idea? Hopefully after this conference, no one calls me at 7:30 every day to say, please buy a product. Okay? So that's it. Because the data is easy. Even you're very clearly given, since I've volunteered, I'm happy to have a chat, but not at 7:30.
Absolutely. Since you mentioned about the fact that most of the CIM businesses they might be working on some level of AI product, whether it's the conversational AI, the customer care or other things like compliance management or other. From a CTO perspective, why you are endeavoring for a new, maybe reworking around certain existing project, or maybe starting the new work? What are the 2-3 things that you feel while embarking on a tech journey, especially from an AI perspective, all the CISO, CRO, CTO must focus on? They should not be missing on those.
No, I think our knowledge on this is quite high because it's in the field. But I would say look forward, right? I think one of the challenges which we are trying to develop is, can we build a full-fledged, a service or a product which does not have screens? Because I don't think screens are required anymore, right? One of the things where India is very, very, multilingual, people speak very easily. So if you want to go to tier 4 cities, how do you use language? I think that's where AI should come. But today, look at the market, no one gives that kind of solution, right? Anyone says, okay, screen, chatbot, and I said, that era is over, right? Let's move on with it. So I think look forward to try to use voice to a very large extent to see some of these things, and then really focus on really changing the org structure. So if you don't change the org structure, I don't think anyone will change it. Right? And as you're right, biggest trend, I don't think this CIO CTO roles are in the current form is required at all. I think we do little either better that we disrupt some it's in a way and then land up in the separate someone is going to do that.
Right. I think earlier Rashid also mentioned very important thing, which is the startup and legacy companies gaps. The startup have agility and scalability, and most of the large banks would have the trust, and both of them actually watch for each other. So bank would like to have the agility, the scalability of a startup. The startup would like to have the kind of trust that the banks have. Can this the balance?
I think so. I think might be a different point of view on this, and might be also be very careful on the business boundary which has required. See, when we did our ABCB app, it was a full functionality app. So it was delivered in 8 months. Right? I think it is available somewhere. I think we spent close to 80-100 crores. No way startup can deliver. Today, I think we are underestimating the ability of large organizations to do things fast. And it boils down to people and process, right? Someone decides that this is how it will be done. See, there that startup could be at a disadvantage. And bear in mind also in the last, that's why I'm saying I will leave e-commerce out, wealth management out, but traditional banking, I think it's just, I don't think it's a skill issue anymore. It is a question of will. If people come together, a lot of things can be done within 3 months. Because and from a funding perspective, banks do not have a problem. They have the ability to spend.
One last question. We have completely, I think, exhausted our time. One particular project that you are working right now and you are really looking forward to is terms of the deployment or maybe having the kind of expectation that you have some records that just to share something around.
More at a theoretical stage now. We are just seeing that how do we build a loan management system from scratch, purely on a database and just use agentic AI on top of it. I think everything. One or two papers on it. It will take some time. But again, the question is whether we need to do it or not, which will need to be answered. But what we see is that it is extremely fascinating that you don't need to buy any more solution which is available commercially. But I think agentic and AI allows you the ability to build something extremely new and very different.
Mr. Ramesh, thank you so much for taking your time for this chat conversation. Thank you so much. Thank you.